you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
Hey, how are we doing out there all tonight across this great land and around the world? It is that time. It's time for the Conservative Syndicate. Once again, I am your host, John Matthews. Glad to have you with us on another glorious day in broadcasting history right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We're glad to have you with us. A lot of stuff to talk about today. I'm going to kind of be on my pulpit a little bit today, talking about some of the things that are going on right now, not so much within the political spectrum, within the political arena or the political asylum, whichever way you prefer to refer, whichever way you prefer to reference today's political environment. But we're going to talk in depth about something that's near and dear to my heart, probably my pet peeve in politics, and the one thing that I probably spend the most time talking about perhaps when I'm not on the air, and that is the state of the Christian church, especially in light of what's going on here with this political season, and even more particular, the sudden outrage from the Christian evangelical community about the lewd tapes of Donald Trump. All of a sudden, everybody is just filled with righteous self-indignation. Self-righteous indignation. That's the proper phrase that I'm looking for here. All of a sudden, everybody's concerned about the morality of the nation and the role models that are out there running the country and serving in positions of leadership. All of a sudden, it's a big deal. And it has fed the narrative that I have talked about many times on this show, and that is the simple fact that a large segment of the church is complicit in the creation of what we have today as a republic. It is the church that I put most of the blame on, not the political apparatus, not the establishment, not the running of Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or even Donald Trump, for that matter. It is the fact that the church has remained complicitly silent for so many decades now and had the opportunity, at least in 2012, to right itself in perhaps a more religious and traditional way pattern by voting for Mitt Romney, who, by the way, is a Mormon, and it kept a lot of Christians home. It's this righteous indignation, self-righteous indignation. I got to make sure that I preface that the proper way. Self-righteous indignation. People stayed home in 2012 because Mitt Romney was not a Christian. And now, all of a sudden, Donald Trump, who never proclaimed to be the best person in the world, and just recently, in my opinion, claimed the Christian mantle. You know, I'm not dumb enough to buy into that. I'm not delusional on the fact that Donald Trump is the great Christian candidate. Some people are out there saying he is the appointed one by God to bring this nation back and everything else. That might be the case and that might not be the case. And I hope to expound on that to some degree today to put to bed one of the biggest arguments I'm hearing from the largest segment of the Christian church that I hear on a regular basis. And that is because Hillary Clinton is so corrupt and evil and Donald Trump is so lewd that we're not going to vote for anybody. We're not going to vote for anybody. Or even worse, we're going to write in Jesus Christ, or we're going to write in Ted Cruz. Okay, you might stand on your principle, and you'll have your principle as you're being fed to the lions should Hillary Clinton win this election. You know, it was the same righteous indignation that brought Barack Obama into power. It was the same righteous indignation that brought Bill Clinton into power, for crying out loud. The religious right stayed home in these elections and allowed the vacuum to be created. The church never spoke out back when Roe versus Wade, not even back in the 60s when they legalized divorce. Remember, there was a time in this country just as late as the 60s where divorce was illegal in the United States of America. The only lawful reason for divorce was cruelty, abuse, that kind of thing. But now it's just irreconcilable differences. And that same irreconcilable differences is the actual foundation of everything that's going on today in our political environment. It is the same foundation which has allowed the left to rise to the top of the cesspool, while the rest of us just sit around praying to God, hoping that God will raise his magic hand and he will, in just a swoop, turn everything back around. It isn't that way. It has never been that way. God has never worked since the days of Jesus Christ, absent the participation of those who claim to be his people, his disciples, his followers. And so what we have done, the church has reaped what we have sown. We have sown complicity, and now we're being forced to be complicit. Now we're being oppressed, and now we're being silenced one way or the other. And that's what we need to come to grips with and get over this idea that we're proving something by standing idly by because of the fact that Donald Trump is not the perfect candidate. There is no perfect candidate, as I said, because Jesus Christ is not on the ballot. He is where he is supposed to be, at the right hand of the Father, and they are waiting for us to do what we're supposed to do to get this country back on the right track, back as one nation under God. And that's something that we as a people, as those who claim to be evangelical Christians, as those who claim to be believers and followers of Jesus Christ, we are the ones that have to come and make something out of this mess. And if it means electing somebody like Donald Trump just for the sole purpose of perhaps preserving our Supreme Court, maybe that is all we need to do right now. Maybe that's all we need to expect out of this particular candidate. And in the process of doing that, perhaps we can re-educate ourselves, re-inform ourselves, and re-engage in the battle for our republic so that we can do away with the fulfilling prophecy of Benjamin Franklin that we would have a public as long as we could keep it. And so this whole idea, and I'm going to talk about it because it's starting to surface. It's come to the surface. I've been talking about this since I came on the air back in 2007, that this was the key to this country being turned around. This was the key to reformation. People call it repentance. I call it resurrection, because we need that first. We got to come back to life before we can start a revival or anything like that. We have to recognize that the enemy for too long has done his thing with little or no opposition from the very commissioned agents by the one who created us and endowed us with unalienable rights. And that is what we have failed to do. And now all of a sudden, because Hillary Clinton has brought corruption to the surface, to a boil, and everybody's upset with that. And then we find out, oh, the other guy isn't any better. All right, we know that. We know that. But I'm telling you, if you are a Christian and you've decided that you're going to stay home, or you decided that Hillary Clinton is more to your liking than somebody who talked about messing around with a married woman 11 years ago, then you are complicit. You are in an unholy alliance with the other side. And you will be held accountable before the God you claim out there on social media and everywhere else that you believe in, that you have faith in, and that you follow. Those are harsh words, but these are harsh times, and it's time for the church to get off their ass, get out of the pews, and become a little bit more active in what's going on in this republic, and quit worrying about whether or not Donald Trump is some kind of moral human being that's going to turn us back into the right track of righteousness. Donald Trump isn't that person, but he just might be the person for the moment, just for the moment, that God needs to put in place so that we, the people, we who claim to follow God, will turn back and begin to seek the one who put us here in the first place. We're going on a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back. A healthy attitude toward politics will always be relentlessly cynical. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, doing our part to keep America healthy.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
The ConservativeSyndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. All right, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk, and I want to just clarify right now, we don't give a damn who approves of this message. All right, that's what we're in the business of, telling the truth. We're biased, certainly, but it's still the truth. You don't have to like it; it's still the truth. You don't have to agree with it; it's still the truth. And I'm on a kind of a rant today, so you're going to have to deal with my attitude. The only place I'd rather be right now than right here is standing in front of a church somewhere and just leveling them with this, all of a sudden, this selfish, this sudden self-righteous indignation that somehow Donald Trump is supposed to be the perfect candidate and supposed to be moral and upright. The man never claimed to be any of those things. And people say, well, he's not a Christian. No, he's probably not at least in the definition of the word given by the Bible. I've heard the guy say he has never done anything wrong. I know he was asked one time about whether he's ever actually been saved, given a confession of faith or not. No, he hasn't done any of that. He's just one of those people that are out there that just happen to believe that God exists. I'm okay with that right now, because obviously the other side of the coin is Satan's sister, for crying out loud. So let's get real about this thing. And all of a sudden the church is self-righteous. All of a sudden we're worried about morality. Hey, where the hell has the church been the last 50 years as this vacuum was created and we had the likes of Bill Clinton and Barack Obama coming into the fold? For crying out loud, get over it. That's really, it's just the end. It is my pet peeve. I've said that before. My pet peeve, and it is one of the things that every time I've spoken at a church, I've always had to deal with a pastor afterwards. Even in my own church, several times I've given 20 years I don't know how many sermons I gave, and my pastor used to say to me, it takes 2 weeks of damage control after you get off the pulpit. And I'm like, well, that's the truth. And finally, 6-7 years ago, he walked up to me one day. It was right after Barack Obama got elected, as a matter of fact, about 6 months later. He said, my God, John, everything you told me about this guy is true. I'm like, yeah. You think I was just talking to hear myself talk? You guys are so locked into the prosperity message and how many blessings you can get, if you're going to drive a Mercedes or a Cadillac. That's not what this whole thing is about. It never has been what all this is about. So I actually turned to my pastor, okay, and I'm proud to say that. Anyway, having said that, I want to bring on today one of our best commentators, if not the best commentator, but certainly the most enjoyable, and that is Audrey Russo from Real Talk Radio. How are you doing today, Audrey?
John, thank you so much. That was so nice.
Well, you'll have to excuse my attitude today. I'm in one of those hell-bent moods. I'm after the church today because I really, really believe that it is the church that has created this whole mess. As much as I hate to say that, we, by our complicity, created the vacuum that has allowed what we see today to come before us. And now all of a sudden everybody's worried about it. What's your view on that?
Oh, I got too much to say about that. The self-righteousness is disgusting. It really is. I just don't. Some of them need to, I guess, read the scriptures again. By the way, about Trump, according to Dr. James Dobson, he has made a profession of faith. It's more recently, but he has, and we're told to believe that. So remember, the guy's a baby Christian. He's got a long way to go, just like the rest of us. But the attitude is it really sickens me. The self-righteous attitude, not only of Christians, but those in the Republican Party, that they were appalled. So I'm sorry, I didn't get, why weren't you appalled? First of all, why aren't you appalled by Hillary Clinton, who is for unabated abortion? She's for partial birth abortion. You're not appalled by that. You're appalled by locker room talk. Let me tell you something. I used to be a promotional model, and there were women that you wouldn't believe that everyone looked so lovely on the outside, and they had some of the nastiest mouths talking about men that I have never heard men talk like that. So, this is absurd. He's apologized. That's enough. And what is Christianity if it's not about forgiveness? Isn't that the message?
Yeah, well, what has really irritated the heck out of me about this whole thing is the fact that we can go back to the Clinton era. I'm like, where was the church? Where was the church when Roe versus Wade was coming down the pipe? Where was the church when the issue of homosexuality being an acceptable alternative lifestyle started surfacing 20, 30 years ago? And everybody just, my vision, what I always try to express to a lot of people when I deal, especially with ministers or standing in front of a congregation, is that, God didn't erect the church for us to hide behind the four walls that we come into every Sunday. It was to open it up and bring other people in. And the only way you can do that is by going out and engaging them where they're at. That's why I started the show. I got tired of being a pastor that was locked into what happens on Sunday. And I got so pissed off about it. One day I just told my pastor, I can't do this. This is so contrary to my nature. You see something wrong, you go out and fix it. You don't sit here and talk about, well, what's God going to do for me today? If you're not doing anything for God, where did this idea come from that we just pray to God and he raises his hands and everything gets fixed? Didn't he commission us to do something? Didn't he say, go out and preach the gospel and make disciples of all nations? Why are we sitting here waiting for him to do the work? And in the meantime, God, just bless me with all the good stuff.
I don't know where it came from. It's a false gospel is what it is. The name it and claim it. The other ones are sitting back and waiting. I just got to take care of my own. And I read the Bible and go to church. I don't know what Bible you're reading because that's not the mission. The mission's outside of the church. It's not in the church. A church, you go there, it's like a hospital, and you get either healed or refreshed. I mean, in your spirit, I'm talking about. You get refreshed and you go out. That's the mission field outside the doors.
Well, some of the biggest criticism I get from some of my quote unquote Christian friends. And I have probably been insulted to a much deeper degree by Christians than I have been with any atheist or liberal or anything else. I get dressed down by these guys. I call them rogues. They're these guys that they spend their whole life reading the Bible in their little cubby hole. But they're not planted in a church anywhere. They don't really do anything because, God has given them special dispensation. That kind of,
yeah,
and they're just too good for the world. And one of the things that I often take heat for is my language. A lot of times, people, you don't talk like a Christian. What do you mean? What is a Christian supposed to sound like? Am I supposed to genuflect every time I walk by somebody? Am I supposed to wear a robe? Am I supposed to bless them with the sign of the cross or something every time I see them? I don't remember Jesus Christ ever being nice and gentle and soft whenever he dealt with a sinner. It was like, hey, repent. Yeah. The kingdom of God is at hand. Repent.
That's the California Jesus. You know that, right?
Yeah. Well,
he has nice tan. He has golden hair. The word said what he looked like. He wasn't someone that you would look at as being, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't a handsome man. That's what the word said. I didn't say it. Right? So they just paint their own picture. So the world tells us what we're supposed to do. But you know what? The church has failed. Exactly what you said about what happened with Obama. It should never have gotten that far. No. Back with Roe v. Wade, back with homosexuality, back now even more recently, that we are out engaging the culture because the culture took moral issues and said, you can't touch this now because it's a political issue.
Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. This whole idea, picture people today, I think they have these images of Christ of wearing a three-piece suit with enough hairspray in his hair to fill a beauty parlor, and he just kind of always smiling. I really have some pet peeves about some of these people out here. I rant against mega churches. In fact, I was called to speak at a conference this November. And the first thing the guy says to me, he says, please don't attack other churches. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, we want you to come up here and impart something to our people. Our conference theme is the heart of a champion. And I'm like, okay, well then I'll do it this way. I'll talk about the measure of a champion. And we'll compare how people look at what a champion is today in terms of the world, and then we'll look at it the way God looks at it, and we'll make that kind of comparison. And I don't think I'll have to talk about churches. I think people might just be able to figure that out, But it is so. Here's my thought. Don't you think that it's also just as hypocritical that all of a sudden the Republican Party is worried about Donald Trump's escapades? I mean, does anybody ever doubt the fact that this guy's had groupies in his life?
Sure.
I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
The guy's a millionaire several times over.
Yeah. We know what this is all about.
Yeah.
The Republicans, they're taking umbrage, and it's so incredibly phony that they're taking umbrage at something that he said 11 years ago. I'd like to know what they said 11 years ago. I think we need to hire an investigator to look into Paul Ryan's life.
Yeah.
Let's take a look back and see what he said and see what he's done. Would they like that? No, they're afraid of their little kingdoms. That's what they're afraid of.
Yeah,
And he's gonna bring an end to it, and they don't want it, and they will do anything, and they're trying to kind of hold on to some kind of balance. I mean, at least Ted Cruz is still sticking with Trump. That.
Well, I never in my wildest imagination, when Donald Trump came on the scene, I think we were one of the first. I'm sure you were too, because you're always on the same wavelength we are. I never looked at Donald Trump and said, "Oh, we got ourselves a solid conservative candidate." In fact, I think during the primary season, all I ranted about was the guy's got a long history with Democrats, as long as my arm. He's got a long history of donating money, but we know from his own admission that he bought politicians. I give him money, they do what I want. I was under no illusion that this guy was some kind of diehard conservative. I certainly wasn't under any delusion that he was a Christian or anything else. I figured, in fact, if anything, he's part of the establishment. The deal is he's part of an establishment that can't control him. And that's, and so I remember a few weeks ago, I was standing in front of the church. I was asked to give an offering, give the little blurb that you give before you get an offering. And I said, one of two things is happening right now. We as a nation are on the verge of judgment. And if Hillary Clinton gets elected, in fact, we've already had a King Saul. She'll be King Saul II. And she'll oppress us, and she'll take away our rights, and she'll indoctrinate our children, because that's what Saul did. Or God is going to deliver us to the jawbones of a jackass. It's got to be one of the two. And I'm under no delusion that Donald Trump is the Messiah, or that he's going to save the Republic or anything else. I'm hoping he just gets some decent Supreme Court people in there, and maybe we can protect the Constitution a little bit, and maybe then we can start fixing the problems. What do you think?
Oh, exactly. Well, that's the whole idea. If anything, no matter what you think of this or that about him, one thing he is going to do, he will give us judges that we need. He told us what he was going to do. She didn't even mention the freaking Constitution. You heard she brought up Roe v. Wade that she wanted to protect. To protect what? The killing of children? This woman is twisted beyond belief. You say you're for the children. What, the ones that escaped the womb? That's the ones you're for? And she's not for them either, is she?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I just I know when we come on this show, when we have you on the show and we're talking together, we're kind of just preaching to the choir. But the point being is there's a lot of people in the choir today that don't sing. They're like those guys. You ever had people in the choir? I remember when I was one of those people in high school, elementary school. I wanted so much to be in the choir, okay? But I don't have a voice to save my life. All right, if I ever got up in front of an audience and sang, they would be throwing anything they had in their hands at me to shut me up. When I worship, I call it, well, the Bible says make a joyful noise, and that's what I do. Okay, but this whole idea here that somehow, I kind of lost my thought there as I was getting into, I just had my mind's spinning in 1,000 different directions right now. I'm so livid right now with what's going on here as far as the church and Republican Party. I find it much more hypocritical than even the Democrats right now. It's kind of like, where do you guys get off doing it? I mean, wasn't that the big mantra of the Republican Party all during the primary season? We need a moderate. We need somebody that can reach out, beyond the evangelical right-wing Christian extremists. And here we got probably as close as a moderate we're going to get. And all of a sudden, it's a big deal. It just bothers me that people think that way. And obviously, people don't understand what a moderate is any more than they understand what a conservative is these days. You know, it's just it's a shame. It's a shame. Listen, we got to go to a quick break here. I know I'm stealing all of Audrey's time today. You just caught me in a good day, Audrey. I'm just wound up. I'm wound up. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
Ever wonder how the credit card companies make their money? Well, think about this. If you owe $25,000 on 5 different credit cards and you make your minimum payments every month, here's what it's going to cost you. Are you sitting down? You'll shell out over $13,000 in additional interest, and it's going to take over 13 years to pay off your original $25,000 balance. That's how they make money. Now it's your turn to fight back by calling the Debt Solutions Network. We'll work on your behalf to reduce your debt. We specialize in credit cards, retail store cards, and medical bills. We promise we can and will reduce your debt. Call right now for a free 15-minute debt analysis. 800-709-4392. 800-709-4392. 800-709-4392. 800-709-4392.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Now, just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Don't get your panties all in a bunch.
The Conservative Syndicate.net. Exposing weapons of mass distraction. Okay, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, who, by the way, is off today. He's out at a Trump rally right now, believe it or not, handing out campaign signs. You know those silly yard signs that everybody makes fun of? But he's out there doing that today, doing his part. Joe's very active down in Florida within the Republican Party. And he seems to have been, to some degree, irritates them as much as I do out here when I get around Republicans. I really, it's one of my favorite sports right now, is to hang around Republicans, especially Republican operatives. And just tell me, okay, when did you go from being a conservative to a moderate? Okay, because that is really what's happening a lot in the Republican Party. People that claim to be conservative aren't conservative at all. In fact, I've asked people, hey, define that to me. Tell me what that means. And you get a bunch of gobbledygook. It's all about winning, all about winning. Okay, fine. All about winning. Okay, yeah. And look where that's gotten us. Okay, at least in the last 4 or 5 elections. Anyway, I've got Audrey Russo from Real Talk Radio here, and I'm going to try to sequester myself here and get her views on the debate, because we're only 2 days away from the debate, and there's still a lot of stuff that's circulating out there. What is your take on how this whole thing went down, Audrey?
It was brilliant on Trump's part, whoever was advising him, by doing that pre-debate press conference. My friend Kathleen Willey was on the at that part of the conference. It was brilliant. I just an aside, I wish the women would have prepared, a little bit more before they spoke. But the woman that, when she was the 12-year-old victim years ago, pardon me, I can't remember her name. It just escapes me for the moment. But she was one of the most articulate, and so was Broderick. So it, first of all, put them on edge. They couldn't believe that he did that. Second, he placed them in the audience, and you could see that the look on Bill Clinton's face with his victims right there. And he took it. He controlled it, and it was really, he was more comfortable in that milieu, for sure. Trump.
Yeah, I know. I heard comments from people actually, sending me emails and stuff like that. That, hey, did you see the look on his face? Did you see? And I was like, no, I didn't really do that. I was paying attention to the debate. I didn't really, pay much attention to what was going on outside of it. But it looks like it was priceless. One of those priceless moments.
Oh my gosh, it was. And they, I think that I loved looking, I say I love looking at her face. It was her expressions, because you can tell inside she was doing, you ever watch the Honeymooners? That was one of my favorite. You know what I'm talking about, the Honeymooners?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember them?
Who?
The Honeymooners. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah. Ralph and...
Yeah. Well, on there, one episode, this is what it reminded me of, where he was having trouble controlling his temper.
Uh-huh.
So, and he was saying something under his, to himself. And it's just to cool himself down. Well, I could just see her doing that, especially when she put that phony Cheshire Cat smile on. She's smiling, and she was her eyes are about to pop out. That's how angry she was that he came prepared, and he did.
Well, you know, one thing I noticed about Hillary, I was watching Hillary's face a lot during the debate, and it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know what she reminded me of, and I noticed this in the first debate, and I couldn't put a label on it. I'm a labeler. I see things that I need to label so I can store it away somewhere. And I was thinking, you know, she's kind of like a stepford wife whose warranty has run out. And it just, the look on her face was so, you know, I kept waiting. You know, when you look at a ventriloquist dummy and their mouth moves and you see the lines where the bottom of the mouth is moving up and down. I kept waiting for that. I'm like, sooner or later, that makeup is going to crack and we're going to see the lines of it, because everything was just such a repetition of everything that we're hearing, and none of it made, it was gobbledygook. It was just, okay, how many more times are you going to recite this? At least make it sound a little bit different. Okay, so you're sorry that you got caught with a private email server, the same way Bill Clinton was sorry he got caught with his pants down. I'm like, come on, let's get real here,
Well, yeah, she was. Well, you notice when he brought up Bill Clinton and what he did to those victims and what she did to the victims, and she bypassed. She passed it. Why? She would not respond to that. How could she?
No.
This was the truth, and it was like a searing sword going in and out. It was a two-edged, and it hurt going in and out. She deserved every bit of what happened to her there.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. She went into rage. She has a problem with rage, that woman. She went into, I'm sure she was screaming the minute she went out of there. How could he, blah, blah, blah. Well, the next one's going to be even better. He's a very quick study. We saw what he did. But I got to say, the most outrageous thing that happened that night, and I'm sure you'll agree, is Martha Raddatz had the freaking nerve to enter the debate on Hillary's behalf.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, quick comment here. Have you noticed here, we're 2 days out from the election, from the debate right now, right? I'm not seeing or hearing anything about poll numbers. Have you noticed that? Completely absent of poll numbers. The only polls that we're seeing out there is that Barack Obama's approval rating seems to keep going up. And I'm thinking, well, probably because he's not doing anything right now. That's it. He's getting people are approving of him so it's kind of like, see, I've really under this belief that Hillary Clinton's election is completely and totally dependent on how people see Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, not about how they see her. She's running on her husband's reputation and, of course, Barack Obama. It's like all I'm seeing is, his approval ratings are the highest they've ever been. Yeah, well, he's not doing anything, but it's being floated out there for the purpose of tying Hillary Clinton to his approval ratings because hers are so dismal. And I'm not seeing anything. Have you seen anything in the last 2 days about polls?
No, not at all. Yeah, they're trying to do that, but meanwhile, you have characters like Putin and Iran that are making fools of him. On the world stage, is just making fools of him. It's amazing.
Yeah. What do you think, for you, what was the highlight of the debate? I think when he told Hillary she put her in jail, I thought, okay.
It was brilliant. It could, I'm telling you, it wasn't staged, but you would think if you were watching something like that, you'd say, wow, it would be perfect if that was scripted, because it couldn't have been more scripted, even though it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It was just, the timing was brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And she didn't like it. Did you see her face after he said that?
Oh, yeah. It was like, it was like, I don't know if she knew whether to smile or frown or do. To me, it was like stone face. It's like, whoa. I think maybe that little electric circuit they got going into her brain to keep her from coughing kind of short-circuited there for a minute. I was like, I really thought she would at least try to come back on that, but I think it just really one of those moments that just left her up against the ropes, and she didn't have any way of responding to that.
No, she didn't. All of her answers were pathetic. They really were. It was just a rehashing and they were a generalization, especially about Obamacare. Everyone knows what an abomination it is. And as a matter of fact, that's one of my guests this week, Dr. Elena George. She's going to talk about alternatives to that. But she has, if she thinks those are answers, only morons morons that have no gray matter that's active are going to follow her.
Yeah.
That's you cannot have a brain that's engaged and you're going to vote for this woman. She will destroy us. You think Obama destroyed us? She's going to embed everything he did and do more. She's going to make money off us. Watch.
Yeah. Now, what do you make of the WikiLeaks here? The double-sided personal and private policy positions. That's classic. If this, and I see it getting a lot of airtime. If Trump can take this in the next debate and I would spend the whole debate just beating her on that.
Oh, yeah, and he will, because I really have to say I was really pleased with what he did. There's so much ammunition to use against her that she's created herself, that when I saw him use all of it, I was brilliant. Now, of course, he's going to use that. What WikiLeaks has released now, he's going to use that in the next debate. Watch. Maybe they're going to release more, too, so we'll see what else there is.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, look, we got to take our short break here. We'll be right back. We have Audrey Russo from Real Talk Radio, has a show out there every Thursday, and we'll get the details from her in terms of broadcasting time and guests when we come back, and we'll continue our conversation. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go. There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adults in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
The ConservativeSyndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. All right, hey, you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. We're back here with Audrey Russo from Real Talk Radio, and we're glad to have her with us doing her weekly contribution here. Audrey, I just saw during the break here, I was just kind of checking out in cyberspace because I do that just in case anything breaks. It's really, worth noting. And I guess Trump was giving a speech today at a rally, and he made the statement that the shackles have been taken off of me, referring to the sudden exodus of the people who are supposed to keep their contract and support whoever the Republican nominee is. What do you think that's going to look like now that he doesn't feel beholden at all to the Republican establishment at all?
Yeah, it's not going to look pretty, but they did it. Remember, they did it. They are supposed to be on his side supporting him because it's for the people, it's for the party, and this was one of the most foolish things. Apparently there's 40 Republicans, and they think, I don't know what game they think they're playing, but this is the choice of the people, whether they like it or not. They serve at the behest of the people, and they're not going to support what the people have chosen. I don't know what they're thinking, but these are true fools. They really are.
Yeah. Now, do you have any feeling, any gut check on you that really at this point in time, I don't know if the Republican Party will really ever recover from this, whether or not Donald Trump wins or loses. I'm not sure. You know, when I look at the down ballot, particularly with the Senate, we know the House, that looks like it's pretty solid, going to stay pretty much the way it is. The Senate, is kind of a crapshoot here. 5 or 6 seats change hands one way or the other, and we could have a Senate. One of the comments that Hillary had made during the debate, here's one I found kind of funny, when she was trying to defend her inability to do anything as a senator because we had a Republican president. Yeah. And I thought, well, geez, what are you going to do with a Republican Congress? Yeah. If you as a senator couldn't do anything because we had a Republican president, how are you as a president going to do anything with the Republican Congress? Because I don't think that the Republican establishment is going to be that cooperative with her because it's all about self-preservation, whether it's her or Donald Trump. It's just her. It might be a little bit easier with her. But do you see do you entertain at all any idea that by the time we get to 2020, that we may actually have a very viable alternative party that can put somebody up and, maybe just knock the Republican Party into eternity?
Yeah, they might go the way of the Whigs if they don't watch themselves. They're not listening to the voters. They have established themselves, and they don't want to leave. And they think that by doing this, they can keep their little fiefdoms. But, of course, look, if the party falls because of people like Paul Ryan, so be it. I hate to say that, but so be it.
Yeah.
Because we can't stand that. Look, they constantly look to the left for their approval. How about looking to us? We're the ones that vote you in. And they constantly look to the left. The left tells them, well, if you don't have this constituency and that constituency, you can't win. Why are you listening to the enemy? Why? Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me.
Yeah,
they deserve to fall. They deserve to fall, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just there's something that just tells me that we're ripe for this. That it may just be, when you think about history, the Republican Party came out or was created basically over one issue. It's slavery. They were called the Whips before Abraham Lincoln created the Republican Party, and it was over one issue, and it was in one election. And so I'm sitting here thinking, why can't that, history repeats itself. Why can't that happen? Why can we not, when all the dust settles here, especially if Hillary Clinton wins, that we see some type of mass exodus from the Republican Party, even more so than now, and they begin to congregate somewhere into a massive force that just stifles everything that the Republican establishment represents. Do you think something like that could really happen this time around?
Yes, I believe that. I think what you're saying is correct. If they screw around with this vote and they let her in, that will be the end of the Republican Party. There will be another party that will spring up because the people have had it. They've had it with them. Here, they're telling them, we want this. If these are the choices that there are, this is the choice we want because I don't care about anything else. The Supreme Court, if you cannot leave that in the hands of a witch like that, you cannot do that. She didn't mention the Constitution when she talked about the Supreme Court. This is how dangerous this woman is.
Yeah.
And if you do that, if any of them do that, that blood is on their hands.
Well, it's definitely it hangs in the balance here. And if we lose the Supreme Court to the left, if we get this balance, if it comes out of this 5-4 and goes to a 6-3 or anything worse than that, we are in some real deep kimchi because this woman who wants to regulate the Constitution, that's basically her platform is, oh yeah, you have all your freedom, but we have the right to regulate it. I'm like, okay, yeah, if that happens, we're going to have a major problem on our hands. I don't know that she'll be able to accomplish anything, but for crying out loud, she's certainly going to try.
Well, she's going to try, and if she tries, God forbid she gets in. But if, God forbid, she gets in and she tries a gun grab, we'll have a civil war in this country. We will, and I know where I'm going. I'm going south.
Yeah. Well, in the time we got left, we got a couple minutes left. I wanted to float one other thing by you here. One of the biggest arguments, just kind of drifting back here to the evangelical Christian community here, one of the favorite arguments I get from these people is that the reason they can't support Donald Trump is because he supports Planned Parenthood. Now, he has said, okay, well, I don't want to fund abortion, but Planned Parenthood does some other really good things, which I think is ignorance. I think when he made that statement, it was completely out of ignorance. But now the idea here, my idea is, if Hillary gets into power, this puts Agenda 21 on the table. This is, the Planned Parenthood could become the Auschwitz of America. And we can try to start getting into that socialistic idea of eliminating anybody that's not productive for the state. Do you think we could go that route?
Of course. And let me tell you, she's going to try to do what Obama did. He got away with it because of his skin hue. That's the only reason. She can't, but she's going to try to use executive orders. She's going to bypass. If you think she's going to abide by the Congress, forget about it. She doesn't care. She thinks she's a little freaking dictator.
Yeah. That's very insightful there. Okay, Audrey, we're out of time here, and I wanted to give you a few moments here to plug your show this week. Who you got coming on?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. As I mentioned, Dr. Elena George will be on. She's going to give us actually alternatives to Obamacare or even the insurance companies. Also from South Africa, Dr. Peter Hammond's with us again, and we have the Washington Gadfly, Evan Garr, from the Daily Caller. He'll be with us as well.
Wow, that's awesome. And you guys out there, you can catch Audrey on Thursdays. When do you stream? What time?
At 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay.
At AudreyRusso.com.
Okay, and you find her at AudreyRusso.com. And very, very worth listening. Audrey's one of the few people I think I could probably count on one hand that does a weekly show that's worth tuning into, even if it's just once a week. You should really go on the air 5 days a week, but I know that's probably pretty hard. But I have the luxury of being one of those who no longer have to look for work, so I just quit doing it. And just decided, okay, 3 years ago, I was one of those statistics, and just decided, hey, I'm just going to retire and enjoy spending my children's inheritance. So that's where we're at here. Thanks so much, my dear, for coming on again, and I look so forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you. Okay, guys, we're coming up at the top of the hour here. And it'll be Edward's Notebook, and then we got to pay some bills, and then we'll get back. We have Don Dix from Act for America going to be joining us in the second hour, and we're going to continue our conversation here on the evangelical self-righteous indignation, as well as getting Don's take on the debate. And Don is out there, like me, every single day in the trenches, doing his best to bring the conservative message across the airways, and we're going to catch and see what he has to say. Again, Joe's out for the day. He's down at a Donald Trump rally down there in Florida, handing out campaign signs as Trump gets ready to take Florida here coming up in the election. I think a lot of people are going to be fooled and really going to be faked out as to how well Donald Trump is going to do some of these states that they have already just kind of painted blue, Florida being one of them, New York being another one, and perhaps Pennsylvania. Those are three states that I'm looking at and thinking, he could really pull off an upset. I mean, if the debate that took place last week is any indication, anything can happen. This guy was against the ropes. Everybody thought, he's history now. And boom, did he come out and in the face of another controversial event in his life. And anyway, so we'll let that go. Well, we got to go to a break right now, and we'll hear the Edwards Notebook, and we'll be back for part 2 of our show today on the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Stripping money from the U.S. military budget to pour into government school systems is simply exacerbating two major problems. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, government schools in America have for years received enough money to ensure that more money is spent per student throughout the Republic than almost any other nation on earth. Yet, overall, America ranks 30th in the world in education quality, proving that spending the most money does not ensure the highest quality. Especially since the actual goal of American government school educators is to indoctrinate American students into being glorified, socially conscious globalists. who are more in league with the United Nations, open borders, and climate change dogma than reading, writing, arithmetic, and true American history. In addition, the stripping away of needed funding from what has been the best military in the world has produced massive shortages in needed supplies at every level. Thus, the military is now at best heavily strained in the effort to protect America and maintain stability throughout the world. Hopefully, this scenario of double trouble is soon corrected through a return to providential guidance and an appreciation for America the Beautiful. I'm Ron Edwards.
A healthy attitude toward politics will always be relentlessly cynical. The Conservative Syndicate.net, doing our part to keep America healthy.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
All right, hey, we're back. Hour 2 right here at the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Akos. And as I mentioned earlier, Joe is out in the trenches today. He's out handing out Donald Trump signs to many of the supporters down there in Florida, and he should be back tomorrow. He stated to me that he might try to call in from location if possible. Not sure if it would be possible or not, but he's going to try to do that. And if it happens, we'll bring him on. In the meantime, we've got Don Dix going to be coming on here in a few minutes from Act for America to do a weekly segment, a special segment. He was on last week. Don usually comes on every other week. And I asked him to come on because of the debate on Sunday. I wanted to get his take on it because I value his opinion very much. So having said that, if I could just let me get back on my rant, if you weren't listening the first hour, about the place of the church in this particular election cycle, and in general, past election cycles, at least the last 4 or 5. I'm going to say at least since the Jimmy Carter era, because even with Ronald Reagan, I'm not so sure that the evangelical Christian vote was playing an active part in the election cycle. I think at that time there was just enough disgruntled Americans dissatisfied with Jimmy Carter's fear and gloom and doom administration that Reagan was able to capitulate on that and put himself in a position to walk away. Very much like Donald Trump could do right now, but probably won't do in the same style, the same finesse as Ronald Reagan. But we're certainly facing the same economic situation. You know, remember back in Carter's era where we had high interest rates, gas crisis. There was a whole lot of things going on. And Carter instituted the Reinvestment and Redevelopment Act in hopes of trying to stimulate the economy. And it didn't work. It didn't work because the interest rates were, I remember, because I was doing mortgages in those days, not mortgages, I was teaching on it. Financial planner at that time, and we would talk about mortgages and mortgage loans and consolidation of debt and all this other stuff. And I think at that time the interest rate was somewhere between 18 and 23%, depending on where you went. So it wasn't stimulating the housing market at all like it was intended. But then by the time Bill Clinton gets in office, because he was able to ride in on the coattails of Ronald Reagan's period of prosperity, everybody had Hillary Clinton the other night touting Bill Clinton's success in the economy and the budget and everything else. And Bill Clinton had very little to do with that, if anything, because he was reaping the results of 8 years of Ronald Reagan. I've explained this show before. The stock market runs cyclical about every 8 to 10 years. And you'll see that. The only difference being this particular election is because we're not able to reap the benefits of anything that George Bush may have done to stimulate the economy, because Barack Obama came in and just regulated and stifled everything. Now, what we'll probably see in the next 8 years, regardless of who's president, is unless Trump is able to do a Reagan-type turnaround, well, Reagan, within his first year of office, was able to turn things around and get it moving in the right direction. Unless Trump is able to do that, and I'm not so sure he'll be able to do that, because he's certainly going to meet a hostile Congress, even though he may have the majority in both houses. So I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. But anyway, the point being is that the economy being in the mess that it is right now, and a lot of this, I just believe, has to do with the fact that the church has been so complicit in maintaining and helping to preserve our freedom and keeping our republic, as Benjamin Franklin once framed it. And so that's really kind of an issue with me, and it's something that I'm just really adamantly boisterous about, very vocal about the plight of the church and its place in blame for what we're facing today. An election with two candidates that nobody's really crazy about in terms of what they stand for and what they represent, but have a populist majority on both sides. Either side's not a majority, but a populist type of approach to things. Hillary Clinton trying to be all things to all people, Donald Trump just saying, okay, I hear the people and we're going to revolt, that kind of thing. So anyway, hey, look, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we should have Don Dix with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. A healthy attitude toward politics will always be relentlessly cynical. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, doing our part to keep America healthy.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
the Conservative Syndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. All right, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And as I said, Joe's out today. He's out campaigning for Donald Trump down in Florida, handing out campaign signs, doing what really good operatives do, supporting the right candidate and doing the right thing the right way. So he'll be back tomorrow. Well, I'm anxious to hear what he saw. He's saying that they had expected people within the thousands to come and pick up signs, lawn signs, for Trump down in Florida. And I think Florida may be one of those states that everybody is going to be very surprised if Donald Trump is able to take it and garner those electoral votes, as I believe New York and even Pennsylvania. I really, my gut check tells me there's going to be a lot of surprises on election night, and people are going to be very surprised as to what is actually going on out there, contrary to what the media is trying to get us to believe. And having said that, let me get Don Dix on here from Act for America. How are you doing tonight, Don?
I'm doing well, John. Are you copying me?
Oh, yeah, got you perfect. You're perfect.
Beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. I wanted to ask you just at the outset, when it comes to talking about the debate on Sunday, it certainly was one of those instances or one of those events that I think a lot of people thought Trump was pretty much wiped out. And I really thought, I expect him to spend a whole lot more time on these quote-unquote lewd videos, but he seemed to have knocked that down pretty fast. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought he dealt with that pretty effectively. I think that he tossed a little curveball to the entire event by having that pre-debate press conference with the four ladies that were victims of different sorts of one of Hillary Clinton's early days as a defense attorney, and then, of course, the ladies that had been victims of Bill Clinton's sexual advances and proclivities. So it was clear that was, especially even some of the stories that are emerging from what happened backstage. They actually, I hear, wanted to have the ladies sitting in the box with the Trump children to really intimidate Hillary. But yeah, I mean, right in the beginning, I thought he did a good job of knocking that down and pivoting, although some of his pivots were a little disjointed in the beginning. I thought overall it was almost the exact opposite of the first debate, where Trump came out strong in the first 20 minutes and then we're like, what happened to him? It was kind of the opposite. He came out, seemed a little bit off balance but in the first 20 minutes, half hour, but then really started to gel. And I think the big turning point, of course, was when he said, she was saying, good thing Donald Trump isn't involved in law enforcement. And he turns and says, yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great line and a momentum shifter, if you will.
Yeah, one of the things that I heard about this, I was reading an article. Martha Raddatz was on ABC's Good Morning America, and she was trying to depict what the atmosphere in the room was during the debate. And she said that she was looking around about that time that Trump made that statement. And she said what she saw, what she sensed. Now, I don't know, we're talking about an ABC moderator here. But she sensed that there was something definitely, that the crowd was really surprised. And the crowd was really just taken by surprise at Donald saying something like that, because I guess she was saying, well, these were all undecided voters and everything. But I thought, yeah, that was definitely it. That was like, okay, we've crossed into the twilight zone here, and I was hoping it was going to go fully ballistic, but I think he did a good job. I wanted to ask you, one of the things, I had Audrey Russo on the first hour, and one of the things I've noticed, and I know you pay attention to this stuff because you do radio show also, is that suspiciously, I'm not seeing any polls out there. Nothing. I'm not seeing anything that says one way or the other, whether Hillary is still leading, whether Donald Trump is tanked or anything else. I wonder what do you think's going on there?
Well, the one poll that the mainstream media seems to be attached to this morning is the one that's showing Hillary Clinton up 11. Of course, that was only taken over the period where this video of him was released, and it was being accompanied by just a rash of the mainstream media saying that Donald Trump is done. And on another radio show, I heard a montage of the talking heads, really laying into this, saying, Trump is done, it's over, his election, his campaign's over, it's all but, now, Hillary Clinton is the victor. So, I'm a bit of a contrarian, John, and I tend to think that when stuff like this happens, you get everybody leaning one way on the boat, and all of a sudden the boat starts to sink. And I tend to run to the opposite side. So, like you, I'm a little bit suspicious, but I really want to see what happens to the polls that emerge following the debate. But ultimately, I'm going to start ignoring the polls and start paying a lot more attention to the electoral map. Larry Sabato is a regular commentator on the electoral map, and he seems to think that the map is really lining up in Hillary Clinton's favor, because there are states that he's saying are now going to, are leaning over to Hillary Clinton. He has her up by 300 plus electoral votes. I think that's ultimately a much better way to analyze what's going on, is to play with. There's a lot of these electoral maps out there that you can play with on various different sites, and I think ultimately that's where we need to start focusing, because the states that are in play, how are they going to line up? I do think that it's an uphill battle between now and the election day for Donald Trump. He's in a way sort of he continues to step on his news cycle. This thing coming out now, the little internal battle that's heating up within the Republican Party of the leaders that are defecting from his campaign. Most notably, although he hasn't quite defected, he's Paul Ryan has said he's going to pull back from campaigning for Donald Trump. And there's a practical side to this, I think, from the standpoint of these folks. They're concerned about maintaining the majority in the Congress and the Senate. So I understand it at one level. They need to focus on their races. But from another perspective, you never see this kind of thing. As bad a candidate as Hillary Clinton, with as much stuff as she's had in her past, the one thing you can give a credit to the Democratic Party is they circle their wagons around their candidate and they don't break rank.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm not, when I talk about the polls on this show, for the most part, I usually preface my remarks is that I have found the polls to be less than credible for one reason. I think that a lot of the people that are actually polled are, I'm going to say, from old data banks. I don't think there's a whole lot of polling going on the populist side, people like the Bernie Sanders supporters or Donald Trump supporters. I think it's, pulling old names out of a hat and calling these people. The other thing I've always noticed or been noticing is that as these polls now are being published, it's less and less people actually being polled. The spot-on poll I think CNN put out right after the debate polled 250 people online. I'm like, okay, well, you could have tapped into the Dancing with the Stars crowd, and they're telling, okay, Hillary won this thing 65-30 or something like that. And I'm saying, okay, that's why but I do talk about the polls for the reason of, one, that's how most of the public looks at things. They don't look at the electoral map like we do. I'm on with you. But I happen to think that there's some states that I think Trump is going to turn. I think he's going to turn New York and Florida and Pennsylvania. And the stuff I'm hearing out there, that's a very good possibility. And if that happens, Hillary's not going to get that 300 mark that you're talking about. But it remains to be seen. But it's interesting that in the 2 days since the debate, we're not hearing about any polls. And it makes me wonder if they're calling these old data bank people and they're not getting the results they want, so they're actually not publishing anything right now. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I wouldn't, based on a lot of things, especially, these WikiLeaks revelations that are coming out about the collusion between the sort of the mainstream media and the Trump and the Clinton campaign and Clinton campaign surrogates. I wouldn't put anything past, I wouldn't put anything past the mainstream media or some of these polls that come out of the mainstream media. Well, NBC News, Wall Street Journal poll that was taken between October 8th and October 10th sampled 806 people, and that was the biggest one that found the disparity that arose out of this video that was leaked with Trump making these crude comments. That poll shows Clinton up by 10, 50 to 40. And it's really the only poll that Real Clear Politics is including in their average. And that's where I tend to go. These online polls that came out right after the media, including even the Drudge and the Breitbart, all these online polls are, reflecting the audience that frequents these particular sites. And I don't think you can put any credence in those.
Right.
But yeah, based on these WikiLeaks revelations, it's clear. Absolutely 100%. You didn't need these WikiLeaks revelations to need it, but now you do see it in black and white to know how much in the tank the media is for Clinton and how on the offense they are with, the Trump campaign. For whatever reason, they don't want to see Donald Trump elected. They like the status quo. They like Hillary Clinton. The media, too, you talk about this axis of indoctrination. You've got the media, the educational institutions, government, and entertainment. They're all lined up. They're filled with leftists. So, Hillary Clinton having the media in her back pocket is a huge advantage. It's a huge uphill battle. You even heard it was another great line that Trump came out with during the debate was, "Oh yeah, this is 3 against 1. That's fair." And that's the kind of thing that we want. Regardless of Trump's background and the comments that he's made, the one thing that so many of us are, just animated by is, we want to take a wrecking ball to these institutions. And for me, Trump is that wrecking ball. And that's where I get excited when I see him do that. That's what animates me to vote for him, because I think to a certain degree he is that wrecking ball. I don't know. When he gets into office, the most important things that are, to me about getting a Trump into office versus Clinton is the Supreme Court.
Right.
It's immigration, it's national security, to a lesser extent the economy. Because America, our country, we can like a phoenix from the ashes. We can rise up out of an economic malaise, but what we can't recover from is this globalization that Hillary wants to thrust on us.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking that was a great line, that the 3 against 1 here. We kind of rephrased it on our show as it was basically Trump against 2.5 men. And that's what came to my mind. We got 2 feminist Nazis out there and a homosexual. So to me, it was like, okay, 2.5 men. But given everything that you just said, the one thing that stands out to me is that even with the media, with the left out there in terms of the establishment, the people that will support Hillary Clinton, even Bernie Sanders selling out, and even the Republican Party now, basically just exodus, just mass exodus. Many of them thinking Hillary Clinton is the best choice. And he's still in the polls if we went by the polls. And you would think that the media would be able to, if they could, they'd want to publish that 15, 20-point lead, and they don't do it. Even with the old information, he's still in single digits. This thing is, in my opinion, very far from over. And just a little bit shift this WikiLeaks thing. If he plays this right in the next debate about this double-sided position that Hillary holds, that to me, that's a gold nugget right there. if he can come out and just say, hey, look, she plays one face to the public and one face to the very people that she's telling you she's going to take down. She's trying to sell Bernie Sanders' platform, but she's in cahoots with the very same people that Bernie Sanders says needs to go down, that 1%. And if Trump can really capitalize on it, I think he's got himself something that would just really kind of lock her away, don't you think?
Well, he does. You're right. It's still an eternity between now and Election Day. The thing that bothers me about that time frame is, as Anderson Cooper sort of alluded and people picked up on, it's like, was Anderson Cooper laying the groundwork for more of these salacious sort of October surprises on Donald Trump, things he said and done in the past? Obviously, the WikiLeaks is an October surprise against Hillary, but the problem with that is these 1,000 emails that get released every day, you got to comb through them, you got to find it, you got to interpret them. And quite frankly, this is the kind of thing that I don't know if the mainstream media does not, which they have no reason to get behind and publicize. The only people that are really going to make hay of this is going to be Fox. It's going to be your right-leaning, internet-based publishers like Washington Examiner, Breitbart, Drudge. And that's not going to penetrate those undecided voters that are out there or grab some of those independents that are still wondering what they want to do.
Yeah, you're right. We got to take a break here. We're at the bottom of the hour here.
Sure.
Going to take a break, and we'll be back with Don Dix from Act for America. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
Talk Radio, WRS
Ever wonder how the credit card companies make their money? Well, think about this. If you owe $25,000 on 5 different credit cards and you make your minimum payments every month, here's what it's going to cost you. Are you sitting down? You'll shell out over $13,000 in additional interest, and it's going to take over 13 years to pay off your original $25,000 balance. That's how they make money. Now it's your turn to fight back by calling the Debt Solutions Network. We'll work on your behalf to reduce your debt. We specialize in credit cards, retail store cards, and medical bills. We promise we can and will reduce your debt. Call right now for a free 15-minute debt analysis. 800-709-4392. 800-709-4392. 800-709-4392. 800-709-4392.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
If you've got joint pain, let me ask you a question. Would you like a high-quality knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? But just in case your reception isn't great, let me ask you again. Would you like a pain-relieving knee, back, shoulder, or ankle brace at little or no cost? Well, if you have Medicare insurance, you could qualify for these pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And these are high-quality braces. They are very comfortable, and they've helped thousands relieve their pain. Now, I'd like you to imagine going on vacation, playing with your grandkids, just living your life again without pain. The Mobility Hotline is a referral service that connects folks with Medicare coverage and other insurance to accredited companies offering pain-relieving braces at little or no cost. And don't you worry about the Medicare paperwork. They'll handle it all for you. And they'll deliver your braces for free. Call the Mobility Hotline now. The call's free. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150. 1-800-557-6150.
Don't get your panties all in a bunch.
The Conservative Syndicate.net, exposing weapons of mass distraction. Okay, hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. We've got Don Dix here. I asked him to come on. He normally comes on every other week, but because of the debate, I wanted to get him on the show here and get his take on things. Don is he's kind of like a check and balance with me. He says you're a little bit more, I'm going to say, reserved than I am. And so sometimes when I go off on my little rants here, it's good to have somebody that kind of, grabs you by the collar and say, whoa, hang on a minute, that kind of thing. Sure. But in particular, Don, one of the things that is really incensed to me at this time, I'm really livid, extremely livid about this, is the Republican Party pulling away from Donald Trump with all of a sudden this newfound, sudden, self-righteous indignation about these tapes about Donald Trump and the lewdness and everything. And along with that, the church, some of the big ministries out there in the church are out there. They're just, all of a sudden this is such a bad thing. And because of this, there are a lot of Republicans that are now voicing this idea that they're not going to vote at all because they just can't support somebody that's so lewd in his comments and his opinions on women. Christianity Today had a scathing editorial out there about the wickedness of Donald Trump, and any evangelical out there that is supporting Donald Trump after this lewd expression of his immorality, it's a testimony against the church. And I'm thinking the testimony in the church is that they've been complicit for the last 50 years and have allowed people like Donald Trump to rise to the top of the cesspool. And so I'm livid about this. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the church now is finding itself in a quagmire of its own making. For so many decades, they have withdrawn their voice and their presence from the public square, if you will. And this really all started back, you can trace it back to getting rid of prayer in the public schools, the abortion issue, the slide of our culture really, and the education and media and has been presiding over this slide in the culture, but the church has been sort of AWOL, even taking it up to modern day. Where have they been with the persecution of Christians, either physically or I just read an article now, I have yet to corroborate it, but I read an article today saying that there are physically no Christian churches left in Afghanistan. So there's, they have a lot they have a lot on their plate that they're responsible for. They are in a particular quagmire now as it relates to, Donald Trump. I mean, any candidate for that matter is, we're all broken to one degree or another. If you want to take the whole, our belief system to its logical conclusion, everyone is broken, and that's why we need the blood of Christ in order to be, in faith in Jesus, in order for us to be redeemed. That we can't do anything of our own accord, of our own works, in order to redeem ourselves. Only our faith in Christ, that he died for us and absolved us of our sins, and all it takes is, sort of a belief. It's not sort of a belief. That's my own stammering getting in the way. Is belief in Christ to get it. So throughout the Bible, a lot of the church leaders that I tend to gravitate to, really, they point to the broken people in the Bible, particularly the Old Testament, that God was able to use and in order to advance his kingdom and cause on earth. Donald Trump is clearly a broken man. He is not somebody that is a perfect human being. So when it comes to election time, it's like this choice between degrees of brokenness. And I don't think that there's a whole lot more that Donald Trump could do that would make his brokenness outweigh Hillary Clinton's brokenness. Her outright embrace of evil and evil narratives shows us that she is, she's incredible. I did this video. I got to share this. And posted this video to Facebook. I had a beard and I was shaving it off, and I was just joking here at the house. I shaved half of it off and thought I'd have some fun. And then it occurred to me, how silly that looks. And I drew an analogy in a video I posted to my Facebook page that says, do you undecided voters out there, do you realize how silly you look being undecided like this in the face of everything that Hillary Clinton has done, has represented, the person that she is, all the way from being first lady and embracing and literally mainstreaming the Muslim Brotherhood inside the White House with relationships that she had from, we've talked about this, with Abdul Rahman al-Amoudi. She, brought in Uma Abedin, and clearly her background shows who she was. So, from the early days up to the late days, her foreign policy that literally allowed the Middle East to burst into flames with the Arab Spring, and then the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and then saying on top of that how we have to learn from our mistakes in the Middle East. And yes, I voted for the Iraq War, but it was a mistake, and we need to learn from the mistakes and the fact that we were prepared to deal with the aftermath and nation build inside Iraq. That was a misstep. And then what does she do in Libya? She burns down Libya with no plan to rebuild that country. And that country is still a mess with warring factions. It's a hotbed of Islamic radicalization. ISIS has a stronghold there. So, on his worst day, I honestly can't believe that Donald Trump could do much worse than Hillary Clinton. So bringing it back to the church, our responsibility as Christians on one level is to make the choice between the lesser of two evils when it comes to voting for broken people. I don't see a vote for Donald Trump, even at this point, with the revelations that we've gotten, those that are to come. I don't see how he becomes any worse than, and ultimately, it's a binary choice. Actually, you have three choices: don't vote, or vote for Trump, or vote for Clinton. And I just don't see how anybody in good conscience can vote for Hillary Clinton or abstain from voting, given what we know that she's done and what she's going to do. I mean, she is going to preside over the next, whoever's elected, the next Supreme Court justice. That's going to relegate that court for decades into a progressive morass of not only interpreting law, but we've seen where courts now actually make law, both at the Supreme level and at the appellate level and some of these other levels. They no longer interpret law. They're downright creating it and going against the will of the people. It's a mess.
Oh, I agree 100%. I'm of this is my thought on it. Just a tad more radical than what you're saying. I agree with you 100%. You're just putting it in nicer words than I would. I'm looking at this article that I saw today from Brittany Pounders at Liberty Juice. And she makes 2 points there. She says there's 2 types of evangelicals out there right now. She said the first being the vocal Trump supporter who sacrilegiously declares that Trump is God's appointed leader for this time. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think he may be God's appointed agent at this time, but certainly not the leadership. The second group is the formerly vocal political Christians who have suddenly gone dark and silent. These are the ones that get me. These are the ones that I deal with on a personal basis out on social media and within my circle that I can't vote for Trump because he supports Planned Parenthood. And I'm like, he doesn't support abortion. Yeah, but he still supports Planned Parenthood, and I can't do that. I'm saying, you understand that Planned Parenthood is going to become the Auschwitz of the United States if Hillary Clinton gets in there, because they're going to start going for this Agenda 21, population control, that kind of stuff. That's where socialism leads. It has to, because the state has to eliminate people that aren't productive, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, you sit there with your principle as you're being led to the lion's den. And, you can have all that. The other side of it is that I believe that God does put all people in power because the Bible tells us that. But I also think he does it in response to the cultural and moral condition of the countries involved. And so we have basically created Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and God will use one or the other to do one. He'll either bring judgment or he'll bring the beginning of repentance and maybe revival. That's how I'm looking at this whole thing. Donald Trump has never painted himself as some kind of perfect person. He's never claimed to be anything other than somebody who believes in God, and I don't know what that means. Hillary Clinton believes in God, and look what we got with that. So I'm at this place where I'm probably more upset with the Christian church than I am anything else. And then the Republican Party, I thought they wanted moderates. I thought they wanted people in the middle. That's how we were going to win. We were going to appeal to everybody. And we don't need those Christian conservatives. Why are they now out there so righteously indignant about something that probably takes place in Congress every single day of the week? From different players out there, You know what I mean?
Well, you've opened up a big can. I know we're probably getting close to a break. So rather than, do I have time?
Yeah, no. We'll go to break here. Real quick break. I'll give you time to digest that, and I'll get your take on your feedback after that. Stay with us right here, guys. We've got Don Dix from Act for America. We'll be right back.
There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. The Conservative Syndicate.net, the adults in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring.
Get your panties all in a bunch.
The Conservative Syndicate.net. Exposing weapons of mass distraction. Okay, hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. Just a quick reminder, visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. You can pick up this show, any of our shows, find out everything you want to know about our show, theconservativesyndicate.net. You know, lo and behold, I've got Don Dix from Act for America. Lo and behold, during the break here, Don, I see an article out here. I don't want to distract from getting your response. My previous statements here, but lo and behold, they're telling us that Hillary Clinton has a 6-point lead over Donald Trump, real clear politics. But what they're playing up in the article is based on past elections, Donald Trump can't win. So it's kind of like, let's take that single-digit lead now and let's just expand it just by innuendo. That's the way the press works. But getting back to the comments here, I'm talking about the idea here that there's two elements out here that I'm just personally very upset with. One, the evangelicals who all of a sudden have found righteousness. And a lot of this deals with, in my opinion, mega churches, things like this, where the prosperity message overshadows anything to do with discipline, repentance, judgment, any of that kind of stuff. It's all about the good stuff and not about the judgment of God. And that's why people can become so righteously indignant. And then, of course, the Republican Party, who all of a sudden has also become righteously indignant, and yet they have been trying to get that moderate vote because that's how they think that we're going to win, and it's all about winning. So having said all that, let me hand it over to you. Get your comments.
Do we have another hour?
I know. Sometimes when I open up these cans of worms, I'm like, oh, my God.
Well, so yeah, I mean, you touched a lot of points there. First of all, I've always had a problem also with a group of the evangelicals that are what I call the revelation evangelicals, the ones that say, well, you know what, the end is near and God's in control, and so there's nothing I should do or can do. And I kind of believe that we're called to be watchmen on the wall. Also, we're supposed to be, watch over the herd. When we see dangers near, we're supposed to do something. We're supposed to warn the flock. And that's kind of what I really see my role is a part of, is those watchmen on the wall, as it were. Mm-hmm. Regarding the changing in positions of Donald Trump saying, well, he was for abortion before he was against it. He's for Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood does a lot of things besides abortion. I think you can be against abortion, but also be for Planned Parenthood as a provider of services to women, albeit I might not agree with them all, when it comes to things like contraception and the message that comes out of Planned Parenthood. But if we could, I think it would be a victory if we could end the practice of abortion as it is today, with Planned Parenthood and a lot of these abortion on demand type things. We're not going to, just like the left, just like we didn't get here in one big step, the left moved us incremental in this direction. And if we're going to make any move, if the pendulum's going to start swinging back the other way, we've got to be prepared to take incremental steps and not look for the big victory. And like to your point of, you were saying, aren't we looking for people who are moderates that can take the mess? We're now a left of center country. that was the one thing that concerned me about Ted Cruz. I liked him. I liked what I thought he could do. But I just don't think a guy like Ted Cruz, unfortunately, can get elected in America today. So I think he had a big hurdle to get over. So yeah, I mean, I would love nothing more than to attract people from the left into our message. We have here in Riverside County a fellow that ran for office, and he was a Democrat. He's now a Republican. And there were Republicans that were like, yeah, but he was a Democrat. Well, excuse me. Aren't we looking for people that make that transition? Maybe they were cultural Democrats when they grew up and their parents were Democrats. And, they were Democrats because that's what their culture sort of, what they were raised in. But then they go to school, if you will, and through life, and they realize, oh my gosh, I don't line up with that worldview. I line up with a conservative worldview, and they make the transition. So are you going to hold those people responsible for things that they did 8 to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they made the transition? And then this gets back to Donald Trump. These are things that he did 11 years ago. Is he still like that today? I'm not quite sure if he is or not. But I'd be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And this comes to one of the other points. Can God use Donald Trump? Can he use broke people to perfect his kingdom on earth? Of course he can. God can do, anything. If you want to take it to that length, he could use Donald Trump. Donald Trump maybe this electoral process, Donald Trump has had his own sort of ahas and progression as a Christian. Woe be it for me to try to figure out what's in his heart. Just like I don't try and sort out what's in Obama's heart from a religious standpoint. I know people that say Obama's a Muslim. I'm like, how do you know? And does it really matter? What matters is, his policies, and he definitely, Obama does, clearly has Muslim sympathies based on his policies, sympathy towards, the Nation of Islam. So, I mean, we're some of this is a creation of our own in terms of where we're finding ourselves with this particular candidate, with this particular election. And I know my responsibility as a Christian is to vote. That's part of what the governments are of man. Yes, our government, I believe, was divinely inspired, but ultimately it's still a government of man. And to try to find the perfect candidate, we're not going to do it. It's not going to be there. It's not going to happen. We need a brawler to beat Hillary, quite frankly. And Donald Trump is a brawler.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I was thinking about the fact that King David was called a man after God's own heart after he had committed adultery and had the man murdered, the husband of the wife that he committed adultery with. And still, so I'm like, and what would now? I'm not saying that Donald Trump is anything like David in terms of his willingness to stand before God and repent and say, geez, I know I blew this and everything else. And but the point being is that it may be that all we need right now, see, I'm looking at it like this, all we need right now at this point, because after this thing's over and after the dust settles after election night, we're going to have to face one of two things, one or two directions that we're going here. And if all God is doing right now is using Trump to secure our Supreme Court and wake people up, and now we can begin to use that Supreme Court to stand on the Constitution and start to turn this thing back around, it may just be Donald Trump is just an instrument that's being used right now. In spite of the fact that we really shouldn't receive such mercy and grace because we've turned away from God. I mean, that's how I see it. You there?
Yeah, I said we're not worthy.
No. Yeah, we're anyway. Actually, we got to end this. I want to give you. You got about 30 seconds to tell me how to get a hold of you.
Well, I'm on Facebook at Donald A. Dix. You can feel free to reach out to me, friend me there, keep up with the things that I post there that are of a political nature. It's all political on my Facebook page. And then actforamerica.org. That's the organization that I've initially got involved in to express my concern about national security, which is the government's number one job, whether it's federal, state, or local, is to keep us safe. So you can go to actforamerica.org, learn more about the organization and our message of having strong national security.
All right. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. And we'll be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here on the left coast, 6 o'clock on the east coast. And Joe will be back with us from his Trump rally tomorrow. We'll find out what went on with that. God bless you all, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hako, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.